Mikey. Hey, man. Happy Tuesday.
Hey, happy birthday to you, Gabe.
Thanks, man. I'm feeling good. It's my big day. I'm like really tapping into this Survivor stuff as always. We put some projections out because today's the first day of the week. But let's talk a little bit about what happened the last few days first.
Let's do it.
Okay. Well, we had some blood in Circa Survivor, which is nice. Over 1,000 people got knocked out.
A tiny bit.
Yeah, that's true. It's a sliver, but it feels good just to see like over 1,000 entries die.
Just it could have been worse.
Yeah.
It was shaping up. It was shaping up to bust a handful more people than actually did get busted. But
yes, that was a lot of fun. The Dallas game.
Yeah.
That was just cool. I felt like, for the whole Survivor world got to like enjoy that no matter what side you're on.
That's true. That's a fair point.
Like there's plenty of good game. You know that game the week before, Buffalo and Baltimore.
Yeah.
It's like the best game of the year. Everyone's, it's so great, but like it didn't matter at all for Survivor. So
right. There was no relevance whatsoever. I agree.
But when Russell Wilson's throwing up those like teardrops into the end zone saying God took me there and all that, and then a few minutes later he just does it again.
Love that.
But this time for the other team. I was just appreciating that everyone in the field was like riding that roller coaster together. So that was cool.
Yeah.
But you had another one. You had the other crazy one of the day was the Cardinals, where the whole game it seemed like they just had it locked up, and then things started happening.
An onside kick, which is like a 0% chance nowadays.
Right, that was a 0, and then when Bryce Young like lost it on 4th down, I turned it off. Thought that was a new 0%, but there was a flag somewhere.
Yeah, it was compounding 0% opportunities time and time again, and
yes,
I shouldn't say I feel lucky to get away with that one because again we're parlaying 0% chances. So how lucky can I actually be? But it does feel good.
You were on Arizona in Circa Survivor. You're like
that's right.
Personal with the homies, and so that was you guys got your money's worth already. A couple weeks in, you guys got to feel some excitement. Picking,
it's just I don't know, very different experience from last year. Not that I was in last year, but where at this point like way more than half the field was gone. Yeah, it feels like to me it feels like nobody's been cut yet. Yeah, right. I know that there have been a handful, but for the most part, it's essentially from the beginning. Because I feel like the people, maybe you know the answer to this. I feel like the people that have lost already are the groups of people that have like a huge number of tickets, and they just decided to ultra diversify.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of people have been knocked out, but there's plenty of just entries that lose just because. I mean, my 10 entries, I picked some terrible teams this week.
I mean, what the heck? Well, you had a 0 out of you had a big brain Steelers pick early on, which was
last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm down. I lost to Minnesota and a Pittsburgh this week, just saying. So I'm down to 8. So personally, I'm behind the, kind of against the grain, but Grandissimo went well. We didn't get knocked out of that. Both Survivor Atlas entries made it through. And one of our picks was on an island, which was kind of fun, just going to sleep Saturday night, dreaming of, what if every single favorite loses and we win?
Just insta scoop.
Yeah, there's not many days in your life where you're live to have a check coming to you like that. You know what I mean? So
week 2, a week 3 scoop.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping every single person in Grandissimo picked the Ravens, so we could earn a little bit, but whatever. Everyone going through Atlas, the lobby, the leaderboard of Grandissimo, seeing what different people are doing. and what their plans are. It's getting, it's exciting. We only lost one person, but something like a third of the field has the same exact entry, which is Denver, Baltimore. So that's kind of interesting. Like right now, do we think one of the winners is going to come from that group or from the other group? It's one of those things like if the Survivor genie came down from the sky and told me the answer, I would think it'd be pretty useful.
I would love to know that.
But what's the point of talking about that, right? No, nothing too crazy in Grandissimo. I guess we'll just talk about that for a second before we get into this week. But
yeah,
that week one, everyone went high on Denver, and last week I throw out a crazy projection of even higher on Baltimore. The field, though, kind of turned the other way and spread it out more than it seemed like they would have from week one.
Well, I think we have a bet to pay off.
Oh, hell. Did I lose? You picked over 23.
It was 24. And by my count, it was like 24.3%.
All right, dude. I got to get one of these overlays that say breaking news. There you go, Mikey.
Breaking news. I win a bet.
Yep. All right. You're on track for one, man. Well done. I was going to try to get by without that, but you got me. Okay, so yeah, Grandissimo. I feel like everyone got a little sharper. Not got a little sharper, but like decided to be sharper. Week one, people were kind of okay with just playing the biggest favorite and whatever. And so now I feel like Grandissimo is really getting interesting. I don't know what's going to happen this week in Grandissimo. Whatever. Most people aren't playing Grandissimo, so we don't got to talk about that.
Yeah, but I think people are interested in it nonetheless.
Word, especially if we win it. I mean, who else do you want to see win it compared to Survivor Atlas, right? Okay, Circa Survivor. Interesting in Circa Survivor.
Yeah.
That we had Arizona number one.
That was unexpected for me. But
yes.
I think there's some contributing factors, and we mentioned it last week, and I suggested that the lack of 49ers was going to be play a key role. And where did those 49er teams go?
Yes, that was, you nailed it with that. I don't think anyone, or I never saw anyone publicly say Arizona number one. I had a dream the night before Arizona went number one, and I said it in our Discord. More of kind of like a joke to get discussion started, but I really had this vision. I was like, oh shoot, like I got to hear what people say about this. So it doesn't count as me calling it, but some type of thing channeled to me that morning. I'm going to try to tap into that this week. But it says something about the crowd, right?
Yeah, I was hoping you were going there because I agree with that, and I think that it's a different cat that was going to pick San Francisco, and I think that it didn't evenly disperse over the rest of the teams. I think the fellow that was on San Francisco is the fellow that's going to move to Arizona, as opposed to chopping their pick amongst the remaining group, and then potentially even going heavy Ravens.
Yes. Hey, I gotta say though, I don't think the Arizona being number one was like directly from the San Fran thing.
No. I agree. It was a contributing factor.
I think the field is really like, after week one, everyone had the thought, I wish I had Jacksonville because that would have been a better entry. So everyone wins everything. Everyone goes, okay, well, week two, Arizona's the play. And, it would have been the way the universe plays out in this contest. If all those people get knocked out this week versus staying is a lot different. It's not too big of an effect because so many people have multiple entries. So, if Arizona lost, it would have just knocked out like a third of people's entries, I guess. But there was plenty of people all in on Arizona, and it's hard to prove this stuff, but it does feel like
I agree. It's hard
to nail it down, but it feels like the narratives have a life of their own, and what wins and what doesn't it makes you think there's different people alive in the field and not, but it also makes everyone else think thoughts like that, which is an extra level to the leveling war, right? So maybe it's exercise in futility to start trying to read the field when the chunks get knocked out. But since no one really got knocked out this weekend, we don't got to go down into the dark arts of Survivor
Right.
crowdsourcing yet.
Yeah, you're trying to attribute ideas and notions to something that it just doesn't matter because everyone's still left for the most part.
Yes. I think there's the soul reading matters though, and like this coming week, it's directly related. Like last week, okay, we saw Arizona big number one, 5% more than 5% of the field more than Baltimore. So this week, Mike, I don't know if you saw the projections this morning.
Well, before we move on, I just want to, again, offer a poker comparison where I think it's like if we get to a final table or something and we haven't played with any of the people at the final table before, and we're trying to analyze it after playing 3 hands. It's like you see bet shove, and then raise and fold, and then raise, and then check down to the river. And you're trying to extrapolate all this stuff from playing 3 hands when it's just like, we need a bigger sample before we're going to make any grandiose conclusions.
Yes, like in poker, you sit down at a table and the very first hand someone else 3 bets. You're like, keeping my eye on that guy.
Yeah, exactly. I can't quite nail it down that he didn't have a good hand, but my antenna is raised.
Right. The first hand you're not supposed to have something that good, so that's us.
Yeah.
So this field, or I guess the way it applies this week, I don't know if we're done talking about the past yet, but
do it.
We got another team where future value is weak and current win percentage is hot. I'm going to throw this on the screen.
Well, and then aside from that, I think the first week was a 5-horse race. Last week was like a 4-horse race, right? In terms of like teams with spreads above like 6 or something like that.
Yeah, I think last week was last week was weird actually, because Dallas ended up getting a lot, but they closed kind of as number 6 on the favorite.
Yeah, but then this week it seems like it's climbing down in a linear fashion, with this week being
or one thing I noticed about last week, so on Atlas, I went through all the people. I just started at the top of the leaderboard and started going down, and every person's name I recognized, or any of my buddies or whatever, or people I know from wherever, I'd follow them.
Yeah.
And it was like a crazy number of people I followed were very heavy on LA Rams last week compared to the field. So I thought that was interesting.
On my splash pool, that's who I had.
Oh yeah. How'd you pick on that? How'd you land on that? Just kind of rolling the dice or what? Like,
it's kind of exact. I think last week you were like it was kind of like in closing, or like you didn't even really think about it that much, but you were like, based on what you're telling me, I feel like you're going to pick Rams. And that wasn't even something that was on my radar. And then that kind of like stuck with me. And then at like 12:40, I was like, Rams it is.
Oh man, having the splash deadlines be on Sunday, it's such a different experience than Circa, where I really appreciate how in Circa you have to get the pick in a day before, so you can just like not have to think about it leading into the game. So that whole night, that whole morning, you're just locked in, and that splash, you decide in the last minute. I feel like sometimes you might do something crazy. Who knows?
Yeah, and I don't know if you are like me, but basically on Tuesdays, because you have the Monday night games, I try to go through any of my NFL related items. And then I try to, either set them, like if it's a fantasy football lineup, I'll set the lineup. Or if it's a pick on Splash, I will pick something just so that I'm not going to get blanked.
Right. You got to set down some stuff
in case of emergency. Like, maybe I have a stroke or something on Friday. At least I'm set.
So did you do that this week? Who'd you put in for your filler?
My placeholder is Green Bay.
Oh, shoot. That's an interesting one. Been thinking about that one a lot for the Circa stuff.
I think because, I don't watch all the games, but we get the Commanders games by me. And so I saw that game, and man, Green Bay just looks like a class above everybody else. It almost feels like a free pass. It's like, do you want to use your free pass? And it's like, okay, fine, I'll use it in week 3.
They do seem strong. And to tie that into what I got on the screen, we did put out some new power ratings last night. These came from a website. Shoot, what's it called? It's like sorry, I gotta look it up. Indefensible or something. Excuse me. Unpredictable. Unpredictable has some betting ranking or has NFL power ratings from the market, and we just took them straight from them last night because they're quick on it and they've been doing it for a while. So let's check out unpredictable.com. When we have more lines, we have our own way of doing it, but on Monday night we just use those. Anyway, you can see on these ratings, they got Baltimore super high and Green Bay. That's basically elite status right here.
Yeah.
So Green Bay is a powerhouse team, and we know in the future they have twice where they're number 1 and 4 times where they're in the top 3.
Yep, I'm looking at the map right now.
So they're a tough call this week in Circa. I'm probably going to have at least one of them because I think the value, like the win percentage compared to the popularity, is just going to be enough on the good side.
The other issue with Green Bay is their Thanksgiving team. They're playing the Lions, which that in itself is, dicey. But
yes, hey, sorry to interrupt, but
go.
Or I used on the Survivor Atlas G, used the Lions and Grandissimo on the read that they're not as good as before, and their holiday spots aren't good. And Green Bay is probably going to roll them. And by Christmas, Minnesota is going to be all high gear running over Detroit. Probably not the second one, but I don't like Detroit in Thanksgiving. So happy to get them out of the way.
Yeah,
because of what you're talking about, how good Green Bay is, especially.
Well, even more, more of a factor that now has to be considered is how bummed are the people that have no Ravens shares available now that Cincinnati, is down Burrow for Thanksgiving. So that just skyrockets your Ravens shares.
Yes,
for that particular spot.
And man, no, the field doesn't. We haven't seen much blood in the field, right? But that's blood right there. People thinking,
yes, agree.
Like that's costly to these people. And obviously, when all the favorites win, you don't want to have burned the clear best team. You see how big this is right now. Huge power rating. In Survivor, you want to map stuff out and find your spots, right? And you kind of want to save teams for the right spots, but it's rare when you have a team that's this crazy strong. And it's not like other teams where you're trying to save them for 1 week or something. It's just such a weapon to have in your pocket that, over a third of Grandissimo doesn't have, and like a quarter of Circa Survivor doesn't have. So,
yeah. And I'm wondering, because Eagles were picked in week 1 by some people. So I'm wondering the number of tickets that went Eagles Ravens, because that's
dude, I got that.
setting
I got
yourself
the
up
answer
for
right here,
disaster.
man. Yeah, I'll pull that up. One of the
you're in real trouble if you did that.
Yeah, so one of the cool things about Survivor Atlas this year, we have this leaderboard with all the players, but we have a separate leaderboard right here, entries. You click that and you see all the entries and how many people are on them. For example, 190 had the Cincinnati-Dallas pair. So you want to see the Eagles-Baltimore. How many people have used them? Only 300.
Well, consider them dead on arrival.
There's some fluky things in this, but shoot. We'll get back to that. Let me it's funny.
They're now on the hook for a game with a spread of 2 or less.
Sorry, I didn't catch that point at all. I saw a bug, and I'm scrambling to write it down.
I'm saying that those 300 entries, if they make it to Thanksgiving, are on the hook for selecting a game with a spread of like 2 or less.
Yes, that, and like even if you only have one of those teams, and you're definitely going to use them on Thanksgiving, you really wish you had them on some other weeks too, because there's so many weeks, and like each week gets about 16 wins. So to burn the best team when you could have found a win in other places, that gets painful, right? So getting back to the forecast, we've kind of gone a long way around to say that Seattle looks like it's going to be popular this week. We put Seattle at 30, like rounded up 39%.
I'm looking at the map. There's a huge disparity between Seattle and then their next best opportunity to be used.
Yeah, like do they even have an opportunity, right?
Essentially, no. They're 7.5-point favorites. There's only one other game where they're 3.5-point favorites. Other than that, so it's literally now or never for Seattle.
Okay, one thing, yes, and the question is like how big could it get? But second thing is worth saying, the map. It's not like it's not definitely going to play out how the numbers say, right? Like there will be some of these lines that move 7 points by the time we get there, and the map. It's like the whole. It's like correlated with itself in a bad way. I don't know if that makes sense, but like if Seattle's power rating, for example, they just have a few more games good in a row. I don't know about their advanced metrics and whatnot, but
okay, that's fair. But still, you can. I get what you're saying, but that it's correlated. But it's also you can extrapolate based on the correlation anyway, because all the numbers, we're using the same, metrics. So as long as we're just comparing everything that's in the projection right now, you see Seattle is 7.5, and then their next closest is 3.5-point spread. So that you would have to take another team and then look at the disparity of their current spread in a given week versus their next highest spread, in order to get a good comparison. And I think I would venture to say this is like, a top 5 situation for the rest of the season, where you're going to have a team with a disparity of 4 points or more between their current week spread and then their next highest week spread.
Yes, right. That's a big deal if you can burn a team like that, right?
Yeah.
But they're not guaranteed to win, though, right? They're not a lock. They're going to lose about a quarter of the time. And I wanted to show a new feature on the map since I got it up. Sorry if everyone out there, audio only, you'll have to check this out. This is a new thing on desktop, where if you're thinking about what we're talking about, these games, what their spreads are going to be, we got a new thing on the map that shows the history of what the opener was, what the most recent scene line is, and it shows how we're projecting this. So let's look at Philadelphia versus Chicago on Thanksgiving, because that's a kind of a good one, right?
Yeah.
If you double click the cell, you get this little box that pops up. And what does this have? We see that this line open -7. Oops. Sorry, I just so Philadelphia, Chicago on Thanksgiving. We see it open at -7 in the offseason. And then in September, we saw it get a little price to Philadelphia, a little bit higher for a second. But since then,
but that's almost largely irrelevant if they're just moving juice and not the spread.
Yeah, well, I mean, the two things shown on the screen. We have one from May when it was sampled, and one from, I guess, the latest possible.
I'm looking at it.
We're not sure. We're not showing all the different action between, but
I see. Okay.
I don't remember what all the action.
But I mean, it's probably not going to have moved off 7.
Right, because we hadn't seen anything yet. It was before all the games.
Yeah.
Happened. But then you can see we have our history of the power ratings, and like how we use the power ratings we have to project what that spread is. And if the teams Philly and Chicago both stay looking as good as they do to the market right now, then Philadelphia is going to be a bigger favorite that day. And you can click and kind of see the math, how we did it, to show your work. But I think this is really useful. I was watching Brett Ritchie. He put out some amazing Survivor, just like analysis videos last week. And we were struck by, when you watch someone use your stuff, you kind of learn something, right? And I felt like there wasn't enough clarity on these future lines. Like on the map, you can see all this future stuff, but I think players want to know, okay, what is that? Where'd it come from? How'd you hook it up? Yeah. So pretty cool new thing for desktop people. And as the weeks go on, hopefully it gets more interesting, more useful. And for now, we're just calling it Drift.
I like it.
Push for Driftwood, but the wood, I don't know if it would really made sense. Okay, anyway, Seattle, Mikey. Are you just going to lock into Seattle?
No, I am not. I like it. And I like it in the contest where I'm going to have to go far. Like, not Grandissimo. So, like, not to say you don't have to in Grandissimo, but like Splash, where you're going to have to, it feels like a big player pool play. Seattle.
Yes. Okay. Counterpoint, though. I got the projections. Let's just pretend you're talking about Circa for a second.
Yeah.
And looking at the EV, when a team like Seattle gets picked 38%, and they could go way higher than this, dude. They're not going to be in the 20s, I don't think. They're like a minimum in the 30s, maybe the 40s.
It's a little wild to me that I think if you recall from last week, towards the end, we were talking about like how many players did we feel like had a brain in this contest and like knew what they were doing and knew that holiday slate existed,
Right.
And
I said 99. You said 80.
Yeah. And so the fact that Seattle is forecasted so high, it leads me to believe that you are kind of more right than me in that regard, because the dummy picks are kind of, or the non-thinking, like just get it in type of pick is Packers or Bills. And so it kind of leads me to believe that more people know what they're doing in the sense of like, I don't know, like thinking ahead a little bit and not just shooting from the hip.
Dude, I think this contest is huge, man. There's so much money in it that I think thinking like, oh, there's some dummies just firing in there. Like, it's not that hard to get into Survivor and like try hard when the money's so big. People aren't just like torching it like it's a free timeshare vacation, right? Like, this is life-changing money to almost everyone playing.
I'm too used to like low stakes MTTs or live poker where it is the case that
Dude,
people
it's a
don't
whole
know.
different beast, man. A whole different beast, I feel like. But hold on.
Seattle is a pick that would indicate that you know what you're doing. Basically, that's what I'm trying to get at.
Dude, I think 100% of the field is gonna consider taking Seattle this week. Everyone's considering.
I don't disagree. I mean, would you agree that it's essentially three teams?
Dude, that's not how I play Survivor, man. You should see the teams I
get
lose
it. I get it. You lost 3 entries on dummy Steelers in the first week, which is
Dude,
outrageous.
I saw that rookie with the face paint on talking about going to war. Oh, put me on that on Monday or on Sunday night, but wasn't meant to be week 2. Oh well. Okay, so the Seattle pick though, I want to hear how you approach this, or not approach this, but just how you think about it, because I was trying to like just dive deeper into these
idiot's perspective.
I don't even know. I mean, I feel like I talk to people about this stuff. I feel like there's no solid answers. You know, there's the survive, there's the EV, there's a setting yourselves up for EV, and I feel like all the approaches have merit, but I don't even have like one I lean to more myself. I'm a field player, just like in poker. I just play by feel, right? In Seattle, though, if they get this high, and you're talking about wanting to use them in a big field, where when you see 40% of the people making a big EV mistake, that's a pretty good way to get ahead, is not using them. Like 1 in 4 times, Seattle loses, and you might just be walking to the next week.
Yeah. The other, we have another issue this week. Not to pivot off of that, I'm happy to come back to that. But you have Washington listed as up there, but it does seem like Jaden Daniels is out.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm reaching that far.
The projected ownership is relatively low for Commanders, but those are going to, disperse. Anybody that was going to be on them anyway is going to disperse.
Yeah, we have some good QB news churning things up a little bit, but none of them are going to be too intense Survivor games. Like the men, like Cincinnati, Minnesota.
Yeah,
that game had a bigger spread. People love making read on quarterback and going with it, but it's just too small, I think, for people. The Washington one too, kind of scary. Atlanta, we put them 6%. That's something that might go up a lot. Atlanta's not great future value, and they're playing Carolina.
Yeah.
The Green Bay one's scary to me, man. At Cleveland, I feel like the Cleveland defense is, are they the best? They seem really good. I know they got blown up by Ravens last week, but
who doesn't? So
Ravens got kind of lucky. Yeah. I think some of those turnovers and the plays, there's some luck involved. It should have been closer. Whatever. It just makes me like a trap. It's a trap on that one.
It's also hard to attribute certain, I don't know, beliefs or like consequences or how good is a team. Obviously, we have a small sample size so far, but beyond that, it's like the Lions in week 1, they put up, no points essentially, and then they go and put up like, I don't know, 60 or something this week. And so you kind of expect them to, I think people prior to the start of the season would have expected the Lions to be, closer to that 60-point mark as like a general idea that they're, going to be a high-flying team. But, you have 2 sample sizes of 2 so far, one where they have a duty pile offense and then the other where they have, essentially the best offense in the league. So which one are they? And yeah, you can use the opponent to compare. And yes, Green Bay is fantastic, but tough to draw any like major conclusions other than like Buffalo and the Ravens are good.
Yes. Also, the Rams seem to be like as good as a bunch of people were hoping. They've come out like and outperformed both weeks, I think. And I remember some of these teams. I guess all the like Kansas City, they're kind of looking. Their market is
I
not
agree.
like it.
There's a couple that fall into the like did not expect category, and for me, the two are Kansas City and the Dolphins.
Oh,
I kind of had I had both as like I don't know, maybe not Kansas City because I don't know, they just how long can they keep up that act? But the Dolphins, I sort of expected to be better than they were. But we're getting to the point where like you're going to start targeting Dolphins in the long term on the schedule.
oh, right, right. I mean, we're like, or they're already in the basement.
Yeah,
And
but it's just gonna. Is it gonna keep going? I mean, they have good players, but it's just like they just. I don't know. Just kind of
one
suck.
one concussion could really bury him down here. But this
Yeah.
is already so far down. Also interesting, Minnesota getting a strong power rating. This one's almost high enough. I'm surprised, and I will be like rechecking these afterwards. But one thing I got to say, I know the vast majority of people have not experienced this season, like I did on Sunday night. But picking Minnesota in Survivor, when you got that Brian Flores on the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, it is exciting. He's got his dudes running in circles, doing all this wild stuff like no one else in the league. And it lost whatever, but there's no defense that gave me that feeling so far this year where you just feel like this could get me a Survivor win. I don't care who they're against. It could knock out a big chunk of the field or take me across the threshold, maybe. I don't know, but I was aware of how like it was a unique form of excitement when you got the crazy Survivor defense or the Survivor, like, what am I trying to say? Game with a crazy defense. So can't really, or I guess people might be using them this week. Although that Browning dude on Cincinnati, he seems fine, right? I don't know if you saw any of that, but he got the win.
I did, yeah. And that's another. I don't know. I don't call it a surprise. I kind of think Jacksonville was going to kind of put it together this year, and so I was surprised that they did not win that game. Meaning Jacksonville.
Yes, I think their offensive numbers have been great though. I think they're like earning theoretical points. Maybe I saw their top 8, something like that. So their offense is moving the ball, even though it's not like very impressive. So for your pick this week, Mikey, if you don't want to do the big popular one, Seattle, even though you made a case for 20 minutes on how it's the clear pick in all your pools that you're in, there's kind of nowhere else to go. This is what people are thinking about this week, right? Like, okay, everyone's on Seattle.
Well, for me, Packers is kind of, that's what I'm oscillating between in my mind. But like I was saying, I feel like Packers is, because I watched that game, with the Commanders, and it was like they just jumped out to me as being, because Washington's picked like to be somewhat highly rated or in contention at the end of the season, and it just seemed like Green Bay was like a class ahead of Commanders, and so if that's the case, they just feel like a free pick, a free square. And do I want to use my free square in week 3, especially when the Packers are a holiday team? It's like I don't know.
Interesting. Like if they come in at 10% like we projected, that's a huge EV. Both them and Buffalo this week.
Yeah, but then you look at the map and it's like, okay, Buffalo this week minus 12.5, but then you just keep going down. It's like minus next week they're minus 14. Week after that minus 11.5, minus 9, minus 9.5. It just kind of hurts you a little bit to have that one taken out of your pocket,
Right, but man, you see them play Miami this week, and don't they always just like stomp Miami? I feel like
especially this year, it feels like it's just going to be mega stomp.
Right. So we put them out about 15% in Circa Survivor. I don't know. That one could be higher or lower. I mean, I guess say that about anything. I'm not really saying anything, but
Yeah.
the lockness, or what's the word where a thing just seems like a lock? No, I would never say something's a lock, but
Like
it
Loch
seems
Ness.
like a lock,
I think
and it
you
has
got it.
that.
Loch Ness.
Yeah, it's got that Loch Ness, man. And Green Bay, like at Cleveland, in my heart, doesn't have that air of Loch Ness to it. I
All right,
think
fair
Cleveland,
enough. To me, it feels like ultra mega. It's like it's just like, do you want to just like not think about week 3? Is what it feels like.
yeah. Okay, Mikey, how much are you doing the transitive property when you make your picks, man? Like week 1,
Yeah.
Jets are playing real close to Pittsburgh, and it's like exciting game, best game, and then the next week you're like, oh, like since Pittsburgh's kind of good and Jets almost beat them, like they're
it's a little bit. It comes into play. There are some teams that transcend that.
Yes,
like Ravens transcend that.
The first
Bills
few weeks, people are trying to do pattern matching, right? The first few weeks, people are trying to go, oh, like
they played them tough. Oh yeah.
Right. So if you're trying to reverse all that out, or like reverse extrapolate,
I do worry about teams that demonstrate they can play tough. Does that make sense? So like,
what's tough to you? Like
an example would be like the Giants. They lost the game, but like they demonstrated they can fight in a game.
Dude, were you watching that game?
Yeah.
Did you see the 4 penalty, dude?
Yeah. That was wild. And then he blew a gasket when they pulled him.
Yeah.
What did you expect?
That. Yeah, would love to be a fly on that guy's like locker, but around the game, just to know what the internal thing was on that. Remarkable, but like you said, they're still tough. They hung in there, man.
Yeah, so that gives me like a little bit of pause when I'm going down the line and like picking against them, or like I don't know another good example, but like a team that they're 0-2, but they either hung tough or it looks like they have the ability to hang in a game.
They hung tough. Yeah, I think that's Cleveland this week. I don't know, or I don't know. It's so hard Tuesday. Like we don't get that much more info Tuesday, or like as the week goes. But you learn what everyone else picks, what everyone else likes. Some injury stuff clears up, the lines settle, and that stuff all matters a lot to me. I know. I guess we should talk about Thursday. Thursday is the Buffalo game, so it's worth kind of like figuring out if there's like how heavy you want to be leading into that. Of course, we'll be talking about it at Survivor Tailgate on Thursday. And what's your gut read about Buffalo? Like if you had 10 entries in Circa, are you going 0 or are you going
definitely not 0?
Because you want to take a lock through the next week.
Yeah. And
Thursday, you haven't had the Thursday vibes yet, where you just lock everything up on Thursday and then
pack it in and then you're good for a week.
Right. Take a vacation on the weekend or something. Head for the Blue Ridge or Skyline Drive up there, Mikey.
They are. I don't know if their projection match, Atlas's projection matches exactly, that makes me more inclined to go Buffalo, because also they're not a holiday team, so you have that working for you, and it's just again there's a handful of free passes, and I don't necessarily mind using one in week 3. I view the Packers as a free pass. I view the Bills as a free pass. I say this, but they're not going to go, 17-0. But it feels like your best bet.
Man, we haven't had any of the big favorites lose yet. I've been seeing people post about how it's like, or this year, all the favorites are at some threshold are 12-0, and if you run it back to last year, they're 1,000,000 or whatever. But hey, I believe in due theory, Mikey. That means
I completely agree. We've covered this before. The roulette wheel. That's why they put the numbers up there.
Yeah. All the narratives about everyone's going to survive this year. It's just the spoiler will come right on time, and it might be this week. New Orleans at Seattle, because New Orleans, man, like they were in both last two games. They were live in the last 2 minutes, right? Like they lost both. It wasn't just by 1 point, but they were they believed they could win in the last minute. I know that's not really saying much. This team just keeps losing, and they're trying. I'm not really saying anything, but
it's like I guess you could play it out and be like, okay, you pick Buffalo, and let's say they win like 40-3 or something. And then you have the Saints game, and are you going to feel like, I don't know, you're going to feel like you made the right play when the Saints upset?
Are you saying if I take Seattle?
As opposed to picking Buffalo this week and Buffalo losing, I think I would just chalk that up to be like, oh, well, I mean, that's just like horse crap. I made the right pick and just got unlucky. Whereas if you pick Seattle and they lose, that feels like you made a bad play and got punished for it.
Yes. I think whenever I've lost an entry on the most popular thing.
Yes, that's what I'm getting at.
Like the time where you lose an entry and the entire field survived except you, I kind of like those. Like,
yes, that's what I'm getting at. So when that happens, you're kind of like, oh well, I played well.
Right. It's like in poker, you shove the straight flush draw, you brick it out, and you go, all right, well, I'll just pick up my stuff and go home.
Yeah, exactly. That as opposed to like picking Seattle and being like, and then they get upset, and you and 45% of the field, is packing your stuff, and you're like, well, that was dumb.
Yes, man. I think it's going to be popular to take Seattle. People this week are just. It's so clear that they don't have much in the future, and no one wants to burn these other teams.
That's the thing. It's hard to avoid when a team has so if you don't take Seattle, you're sort of also crossing them off your list with the people that do if they make it through. So, you both have essentially used Seattle. Even if you don't pick Seattle this week, you're essentially using them this week.
I don't follow that, dude. What are you saying?
What other week are you going to take Seattle?
I mean, they're playing Carolina. They're playing at home against Indy, Minnesota, Arizona.
Bryce Young threw for 700 yards this week. He's putting it together, man.
I mean, they got other teams. The thing is, there's like 4 or 5 spots that might turn into good spots. And
that's what I was saying. The differential between this week and any other week. Okay, you're going to take a -3.5 against Tennessee. At that point, it's more likely that that spread is going to come up or down, where Tennessee is, whatever, +2.
I hear that, but there's a lot of weeks remaining, and thing is, if everyone burns Seattle and one of the other teams lose, and then Seattle availability is like really low, if they just creep up to -6 on any of these games, which there's 17 more games after this one, or no, it's not 17 more. Sorry,
no, 18, 15, right? 14, something like that. Who gives a shit?
Right. It just needs one of those to go up where you're loving how no one else can take them. Like, we're thrown out there last year, since we're talking about Seattle. Everyone used Seattle early, and then there was a week later where people kind of finished them off. And then by the time the last week of the season came around, there's 18 people live. Only one has Seattle available. They could have been on an island at like -5 or something. Very great EV. Instead, they went for the crowd, was negative EV. They lost. Seattle would have cashed them a ton. Instead, they got 0, ignoring any hedging. But like, it wasn't a situation where, oh, I'm saving Seattle. It was by diverging from the crowd, I get on a kind of unique path. And there's lots of kind of secret upside of being on different paths. Like, stuff can just happen to you that couldn't have happened to other people. And it's not saying there's like magic to it, but there's something to it where, especially if you can get on your own path where the field has mostly burned one of your squares that are open to you. So yeah, I don't know what to do, man. Seattle, I'm thinking about it with you.
Where does your heart pull you?
My heart is pulling me to Tampa Bay and Atlanta. And some Seattle. I'm not going 0 Seattle. It's just, it's a good spot regardless. Or wait. Pause. I don't know if it's a good spot regardless, but my approach, I'll probably at least have one of them. My main picks, though, Tampa Bay, Atlanta, are intriguing. Maybe even Kansas City, man. Like, Kansas City, yeah, they got the 2 holiday things, which is
that feels like
stupid.
Not great to me. That feels not great to me. I think Kansas City is benefiting from the line against the Giants is based on way long ago performances.
Hey, well, you can bet that right now for a lot of money, right?
I sure can.
So you got that going for you if you believe in Russell Wilson. Dude, that would be a funny way to just lose a bunch. Seeing Russell Wilson just pointing at the sky saying, like, God did that for me. And then you just bet him against the Chiefs and you lose. I don't know.
Another team that I think is going to be, even better as time goes on is, like you just said, Tampa Bay, especially when Godwin comes back. I feel like they kind of are like the Lions in that regard, high flying offense. I think that just continues. I think they roll.
Dude, for like 5, it's been maybe like 4 or 5 years now, but Tampa Bay is so strong at the end of the year when they're playing Carolina twice. Like, they get Carolina 2 of their last 3 games.
And the Saints. Yeah,
and the Saints, and Miami. Dude, Tampa Bay is like the Super Bowl Survivor team.
So if you're going to have to be around towards the end, that's a team that you need to have banked.
Yeah, it's hard for the world to change where they're not a favorite against Carolina the last week of the season. But even with that said, there's a lot of football between now and then, and I'm interested in Tampa Bay this week because they're playing the Jets, and I feel like now they
feels early to burn them.
Yeah, okay. It feels early to burn all these teams, though. Like Atlanta.
That's true. That's true.
Atlanta's got the same situation as Tampa Bay. They play Carolina, New Orleans at the end.
There's only so much fanciness you can do each week. There's only so many weeks where you can bank all your good teams again. At a certain point, you gotta go into that bag and use some of the good teams. You can't just get to like week 9 and be like, okay, who am I going to go with now? Ravens, Packers, Bills. I got everybody.
Dude, you can always get weird down here, man. Indy, Chargers.
Here's a wackadoo. I don't know how wackadoo you really want to get. And
talk to me, dude.
But if Jaden Daniels is out, that is complete disaster for the old Redskins.
Yeah, but or Vegas, man, Vegas is not inspiring anybody right now.
Yeah,
So
I'm assuming he's out based on like the talk of the town.
didn't Mariota do fine last year? It didn't. Was
Yeah,
it?
he is fine. He's like fine, but he was also injured for a little while. So I'm not too sure, and I don't know. I think he's like a capable backup. He's fine. He's probably one of the better backups in the league, but I don't know. That if you want to get really crazy, I think that's obviously the craziest pick you can do is Raiders.
Yes, but I mean, they got thinking of future. They got like 0. That would be something to use them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be closer than one would expect if Daniels is out.
Dude, I got these 5 teams up right here. All 5 of these games feel like primed to make a hot read on them, right? I guess they're not viable in Survivor, something we're talking about, but they all seem like lines that maybe are wacky for whatever reason, and whatever. I'm done losing Survivor entries on teams that are -3, closing -2.5 or whatever.
Yeah,
I gotta stop bringing that up, man. I gotta just turn my map so it only shows the top 5 teams. I like that. Every week, top 5 teams, you can make it to the end, right?
yeah, and then I don't know, and then one random. Have it be top 5 games and then one randomly selected game.
Yes. Well, hey, man, a lot to think about and decide this week.
Yeah, I want to try to get on the spaces this week. And then
you gonna hang out at Survivor Tailgate?
Yeah.
Dude, that'd be sweet. It seems like every week we get more and more people coming by, and also people like hitting me up saying they're coming, and it just feels good to hang out and talk some Survivor with everybody. And I really appreciate everyone who shows up. So, Mikey, if you show up, dude, I'll appreciate it. Also, this week, let's just give a few notes before we get out of here. The splash data is not up on our site yet. I know that's annoying to people who are playing these, and we're doing the best we can. That stuff's important to us. We want that all buzzing. It's not ready right now, and we're gonna work more on that today and try to get that taken care of. Also, I noticed I'm missing an entry in here, and I was going through the data late last night, and somewhere in the data, Circa dropped different PDFs and switched them up. Somewhere in the data, there's an entry where it got flipped, like Denver, Arizona, Denver, something. So I know there's one entry, and I'm like, it's annoying to find. Hopefully by next week, it just works itself out. So if you see kind of random things like that on the site, we're trying to dig them up. But with so many entries live and all the contests, there's some kind of imperfections sometimes. Also, today we're trying to get our private Discord going. We have a Discord people hang out in, and it's starting to be where there's like maybe too many lurkers, and people don't like sharing the good stuff. So we're trying to get that function so we can have more private stuff for actual like community members. And also next week, it's a big change in Survivor Atlas. We've been doing this for a couple of years now, just sharing everything with all the people that we're competing against. But we're going to go private next week. We're going to put up a wall. And the idea is, we're trying to help our people win all the money. So look for that. We'll be announcing, pricing and whatnot. It's going to depend on how many people bust out. If nobody busts, it's going to be like dirt cheap going into week 3. So thanks for listening. Thursday, Survivor Tailgate, we're going to be talking about this. Bring your questions, bring your hot takes. Come tell me why I'm wrong about the projections or whatever. Just come hang out, talk Survivor. Until then, thanks, y'all.